Saturday night, April 6th, and you are in the star room with G, and it is the weekend before the April 8th eclipse. And it seems the whole world has eclipse fever. Everyone's like, I have some charts here that I'm going to take a quick look at. And one of them will be the astrocartography of the United States birth chart. Yeah. Um, One of my housemates was asking me about that because I had gotten some comments months and months and months back saying, "Hey, will you please create a video talking about this eclipse in regards to the United States chart?" And then months and months even before that, like, "Oh my God, there's going to be, just a lot of um, sounded kind of over the top kind of stuff that the person had mentioned." So I had done some homework already and dug into it. And well, let's just take a look. It wasn't that I found anything, there's nothing necessarily. Should I use the word biblical? Because I think people are using that word, the hell on earth and the kind of in the biblical sense of shit just being really horrible and bad and people really freaking out because of New York having, an earthquake. Yeah. So, before I go any further, I kinda wanna point that out. And so here on the screen, that's what the eclipse looks like. That's it, 19 degrees. Yep. So, there are some things really interesting just about that degree alone for the US's chart, okay? So we're gonna do that, and I mean, like, at pretty much those exact degrees. There's a couple of things. Actually, there might be more than a couple. I've got just their asteroid chart drawn up. I also, of course, have, like, their natal chart drawn up and then the astrocartography chart. So it's kind of fascinating to see, for those of you who well, I'm sure everybody knows by now the path of the eclipse, like, and where it goes, and matter of fact, what is it? The New Madrid fault line, right? Going across the states there. Some people are concerned about that and the events that occurred, back in the 1800s. Anyhow, so I had done already a whole bunch of homework looking into all that. And, I mean, every once in a while, the earth has just got to let some shit go. Every once in a while, there's either going to be a hiccup or a release of something, or, like every once in a while, you got a burper. I mean, I know that might sound trivial, like making it such a small event. And it's easy to do that in the case of New York because that's what it was, right? There wasn't really any major damage that I'm aware of. No physical injuries anyway. There might have been a little bit of some old stuff. And then yeah, let's go pull up this other chart. So before I get to the other chart though, the 19 degrees within itself in Aries, new beginnings. It's Aries. What else do we know? For all you who are here, let me get my phone in the chat. What else do we know about Aries energy? Right? Well, my lord, we got some major physical weapon type events happening, right? We've got the thing between Russia and Ukraine that's been going on, and these are soldiers, right? Aries energy, weapons, Aries energy, Mars, the Marine, the soldier, right? And then, of course, Israel and Gaza Israel and Palestine specifically. So, not that there aren't any other things that happen in the world or that have happened, but these I think seem to be the most prominent. And of course, United States, uh, whatever the degree their involvement is or is not. That's always a discussion. So when we think weapons, Mars comes to mind because Mars rules Aries, right? And so we always think the soldiers and the war. And for us in the United States, we also think of weapons, not necessarily about the war over there, but the war that we have with ourselves here and the massive amount of weapons that we have, that civilians have, and that are easy access and rather powerful weapons that can do like lots of destruction. So again, this is me stating like keywords and the obvious. It's not about me stating, look out, this is what's going to happen. I'm not saying that. Okay. What I am saying is when you have a new moon eclipse, which is what this is, it's a new moon. And why? Because the sun and the moon are together, right? New moon. So it's a new beginning of some sort. Normally we see it in the material and the tangible because, I just realized I didn't check to ask anybody if you can hear me. With this new beginning, I also want to add here that I think Israel and the relationship with the United States, like other than looking at the United States chart, not, we will get there, but there is definitely a change, right? Like if you follow the politics and if you follow the foreign affairs and anything like that, which I know it takes a lot of energy and time and focus, and which people who are working and have children, like who the hell has time for all that? But obviously, there's just been major developments, of course, since the World Central Kitchen workers, heroes during wartime being killed, and yeah, like that's a problem, right? So people who maybe weren't involved or maybe didn't have much to say before, having more to say. And the thing about Aries energy is it's assertive. It can be aggressive. It can get easily angered. It can get easily angered. It has, it goes from 0 to 10 really quick. It is slow to be calm and to be patient. No, it's the other way around. Think of your 2-year-old or your 3-year-old, right? Seriously, where you can't, you try to talk to them and all they want to do is scream and fists. Sometimes they bite. Sometimes they stomp their feet on the ground. Like that can be Aries energy. That's not all it can be, though. Once it grows up, it can be so much better. But until it grows up, and I mean decades, until it grows up, it can be quite immature and seem really juvenile and be like, oh, Lord, you spoiled little whatever, right? The thing with Aries is it has to learn how to go through some discipline. And once we discipline our own Aries energy, then it changes. So the 19 degrees and the relationship on the big scale between United States and Israel, I think is definitely at a testing point, right? I think it's already happened. And the amount of civilians and casualties, and then not to mention the heroes, right? The people who are there just to give food and water and medicine and supplies. And oh, no, you don't, right? Whether it was a mistake or not, yeah, just can't happen. So I think we'll see a change and a shift. Now, what exactly does that mean? Well, specifically, who the hell knows? Time will tell, right? But I think on a bigger scale, people are in a way are more concerned about like the biblical stuff. I know that seems crazy, right? Like, okay, so yeah, that's all we hear about is war. We don't want to hear about that. Okay, fine. Then let's go look at the United States natal chart. The thing is it's kind of going to support even more what I'm looking at because I've already seen their chart. And if you notice here also at 19, here's the third arrow. Right. You see multiple things at the 19 degrees because that's the eclipse. So is Chiron. Right. So has anybody who's here ever had their Chiron return? Who's had their Chiron return? Put it in the comments. Normally it happens when you're around 50 years old. So if you've got a lot of youngsters here, you haven't had it yet, fine. Some of you might be just be coming upon it. All right. Chiron is part of this. And a Chiron return is part of this. This means the Chiron up in the sky, like for whoever was born when Chiron was at 19 degrees in Aries, it's happening again. We got the Chiron in the sky. So we got a Chiron in the sky coming home, right? And yeah, if it's in Aries, it's about my identity, my freedoms, my body, my right, my choice, my very existence, my right to exist. And I will fight you if you're going to challenge my right to exist. right? My freedom of actions, the freedoms of my own body. It's like I have been repeating myself some of the same damn themes, whether it's females, whether it's just people from who may look different, who might not be white, male and white colored skin, right? Everybody understands this. Yeah, everybody understands what we're talking about. And individuals, basically, it's like people have handcuffs on, and it's like, okay, enough already. No more. Enough of this crap. So the Chiron return, Chiron on top of Chiron says, now we're at a point where we start to feel kind of good about ourselves. Like we feel a little bit more comfortable in our own skin. We're like, you know what? I'm proud to be who I am. I shouldn't have to shrink and run or hide or be hidden. And I damn sure shouldn't be allowed to be held back or held down or enslaved, imprisoned, however you want to look at it, right? And wherever it is that you are in the world. So there's an empowerment, a feeling of empowerment when we have a Chiron return. Again, body autonomy, my right to exist, where we feel like, don't I count? Yes, that's a big deal. I should have a say in something. Now, the other thing is that Mercury, all of this is really close to the energy we're already in right now, because the Mercury in the sky is in the retrograde. It moves fast, and the eclipse is a couple of days, right? It's April 6th when I'm doing this. And here we have Mercury at 2447, and the right to exist conjunct Eris, the female warrior, Mars's sister. This is Eris. You see that? Yeah. And there's Mercury. So I'm thinking about that, and I'm communicating my right to exist. So it's really, this is a very complex time. It's a very complex time. Let me drink my water real quick. You're always saying, find this in your chart, find this in your chart. Show us how to find it in our chart. And so I'm going to do that. We're going to use tonight's video as an example of how to find the 19 degrees Aries in your chart. You first have to start by having your own chart, your own birth chart. So if you don't, that's where you begin. Get your darn chart. Here's USA's chart. All right. So the first thing to do is we know it's 19 degrees of Aries. So we go and we look for Aries energy in their chart. Where's the Aries energy in their chart? Okay, that was like my left hand getting really weird because my thing moved. So there's Aries. Yep, there's the Aries in their chart. And now we see that where we found the Aries is 1 degrees. We want 19 degrees. So we know we have to travel with our eye. We have to look for 19 degrees. Well, look, the United States has something at 1644, right? You see that? They have something at 1644. They don't have anything at 19 in Aries, but they have something at 20. 20. Did I mention Chiron return? Yeah. The United States is having their Chiron return. So there's something about their identity, the way they appear. Now we need to know what house this is in, right? Because the eclipse is happening right here, the sun and the moon right there, which means it's conjunct their Chiron because it's literally not even a full degree away. Or yeah, actually it is. It's a full degree. But with an eclipse, you can do an orb of 2 degrees before or 2 after. But this eclipse, the orb is huge. If you watched any of the videos on the channel, and yeah, I would recommend to go do that if you haven't, because then some of the things I'm saying will make more sense to you. And so you guys have heard me say in the past many times, every video for an eclipse, that events for the eclipse will happen early if you have something exactly there. And that exact is within the orb. And so even a 2-degree orb is good. But in this case, we're talking the Revati is absolutely involved in this eclipse. So is their Fortuna, Fortuna. She's involved in this because the orb is so damn big. It's so freaking big. It's huge. So the Revati is kind of like a little bit of Pisces energy. It's kind of like that, right? Revati is part of this. And we also, for eclipses, look at the opposite sign. But before we go there, we're going to stick to the Aries for right now because we got to know where in my chart is it located. So we found the 19 degrees right there. That's where the eclipse is happening, right before the number 20. Now we look at the house number. Where's the house number? Yeah, that's the number. The houses are all labeled in the chart. It's in house number 4. So this is at home. That's what number 4 means. It's the home. It's family. It can be houses. It can be my childhood, my emotions, my mom. It can be literally the sticks and the bricks as in houses in my home, not just my childhood home, but the housing market. There's something about it that can be part of this. The other thing about this energy of the 4th house, it's also the public, a large group of people, the public in general. Emotions and feelings, the past. The past is a big one. And when you have Chiron and Aries, there's something about the appearance. There's something about the appearance of our body, because that's Aries, the appearance. And it's in the 4th house, so the past is part of it. And it's Chiron. Chiron is about the wounds of the past. The wounds of the past are part of this. Now you have to weave in all those Aries keywords I mentioned earlier. I started talking about Mars and fighting and impatience and assertiveness and aggression and war and soldiers, right? And being kind of childlike. Yeah, wounds from the past, something about the past and the association. But it's big wounds. It's not just me personally. There's a large group of people because the public is part of this. It's in the 4th house. So this is the United States, literally. How do you identify yourself in where you live? What does the United States and their country, their homeland look like? Oh my God. We're known as the war machine. No wonder. You see that? Sure. You talk to anybody else, anybody. That's the United States, the war machine, right? Absolutely. More weapons, right? Who are the greatest 3 military air presence in the world? Army, Navy, and Air Force of the USA. It's, and I say that in a way where it's like, holy shit, talk about going overboard, because 4th house also represents security, emotional security. So this then takes us to the very private aspect of if having weapons and having a very, bold face, a very aggressive appearance somehow means I satisfy my emotions and I feel secure. Well, then no wonder we have the access that we have to weaponry as civilians. I mean, it's one thing to have the access. It's another where, oh my God, like we have people who they're yeah, loaded with weapons and ammunition. It gives people emotional security. They feel emotionally stable. They feel like, okay, I'm safe, emotional safety. I feel secure. We have Aries energy in the 4th house, and it's all Aries energy. Look, some parts in the US's chart have mixed energy, like look at their 3rd house, Pisces and Aquarius in their 3rd house. See that line there, right? 23 degrees starts there in Aquarius. But then they also have their moon in their 3rd house. And what is that? In Aquarius. So I got to be the authority. That's also moon energy. I should be the authority. I got to be the one who can have the surprises, but it's also technology and being that, I'm the boss kind of energy, but it's got Pisces there. The illusions, the delusions, the fantasy, the sci-fi, conspiracy theories. Oh my God, they have Sirius and Pisces, conspiracy theories. Easy to latch on to conspiracy theories. Not that there aren't any of those that may be a real thing, but absolutely, there's something where that's all in the citizens' brains all the time, right? Some would say, what is wrong with those people? Well, we got a lot of Pisces in our third house. The way we think, what we talk about, the way we relate and communicate, right? Yeah. So it's really interesting to see how, for us here, and seeing the emotional security connected to weapons, connected to being brave and being strong and looking like, you're a badass and you're ready to take someone out in a moment's notice if need be. You follow? There's something connected to that. But this can also be this fear thing. Like, I know it might not make sense, but um, being ready to fight and being able to conquer your own fears, like whatever it is that which you fear, the only way to conquer it is to face it and go into it. And so there's something here with that. And so it's like, I have to stand ready and I have to be just willing to go forward. So Aries energy, the individuality and the rights. Now, when you look at an eclipse in your chart, this is for every eclipse. You always look at the opposite point of the eclipse, the opposite sign. So that would be at the opposite point in your chart. So it would be 19 degrees of Libra, because Libra is opposite of Aries. So this is in the United States' fourth house for Aries, which means if we travel across, there's Libra. And look at the United States chart. 10th house, Libra energy. They got a couple of things here, don't they? They got a lot. They got a lot. Remember, Libra energy, justice, equality, diplomacy, negotiations, diplomatic relationships. 10th house, diplomatic professional relationships. 10th house. You see that? Big time. We've got something at 18, and that's part of this. The orb is huge. The orb, I think, I can't even remember what, because there was just so much. Saturn might even be involved here. It might even be already back to 14 too. The orb is just huge. It's freaking huge. Relationships, partnerships, Libra energy, marriages, but they're professional as well. Juno, partnership, 20 degrees. United States has a shitload on this eclipse, which explains a lot of the stressed tension, especially within the courtroom, right? And lawyers, and up there in DC, and where we're supposed to have people in Congress. Can't they just get along and get some shit done? Like, there's a lot going on here. We have Spica at 20. I think this is Arcturus at 21. Shit, United States in their 10th house even has the symbol of the United States. I know that's pixelated. See the symbol of the United States? That triangle with the all-seeing eye in it? Yeah, that's literally called America. It's in their 10th house. And I know it's in their 10th because their 11th house begins at 2948. So any degrees lower than that 2948 all go into the 10th house. And again, I'm looking at a tropical Placidus chart system. For some of you, you might use a whole house system, because a lot of people, I think when they begin, a whole house looks simpler. You use whatever works better for you. This is just what works better for me. If I draw the lines, it's home and emotional security, and the opposition is my professional goals, my ambitions, my long-term plans, 10th house. The world stage, the 10th house. The world stage. Family, 4th house, Cancer energy, 4th house. The moon rules the 4th house, Cancer energy. That 19 degrees, diplomacy, professional relationships, learning to negotiate, being fair and diplomatic. When it comes to foreign affairs and that kind of stuff, oh my God, diplomacy is really, really important. And being able to know how to negotiate, because we're smart and we're strategic and we're thinking long-term, 10th house. United States has Saturn there. Saturn rules the 10th house. So that's sort of, I would think, in a way, kind of an advantage. But let's go look at the other chart that I was talking about. Let's take a peek and see the astro-cartography chart. Nothing over here at all. Nothing over here. And this is where the eclipse runs through. Yes, it does go over here, right? East Kentucky, southern Illinois, southern Ohio, Indiana, a little bit of Arkansas, and then it goes down here, Texas, right? South of San Antonio, I think, or maybe San Antonio area, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm sorry, but this chart, I can't draw lines on it, unfortunately. And I believe the path goes something like this, like that eclipse path, right? Question. The lines that we do have, there is a concentration of lines here. And so for those of my friends, right, who are here, who are watching from Texas, I saw a couple of you, Kim and Nature and Fairy there. We'll go over what some of these lines are here. And now here is the United States chart on an astrocartography map. My bad. That last chart didn't have anything on the eastern border. This chart of the United States has quite a few lines, actually. So this line that's running right through here like this, okay, that's Rigel, Rigel. It says it bestows great vigor and determination. It's one of the brightest stars. Exceptional levels of ability and good luck, including material prosperity. Oh, well, look at that. Material prosperity. A star of enterprise, purposeful activity, and business. Avoid rash behavior. That's kind of fascinating. Look, because that star runs. Yeah. Look at that. So let's see. Uranus, which we would connect to disruptions. It's the purple line right there next to that, right above that black line. That's Uranus right there. Normally, surprises, shocks, and surprises, Uranus energy, right? And so we see Uranus runs through, right? You see Pennsylvania and you see West Virginia, right? Yeah. And then it goes through the Carolinas and then Georgia and, yeah, even a little bit on Florida, just a little bit down there. Here is the line for Sirius. Sirius is how we feel nurtured. It's this north-south line running right through Dallas there. It's a little bit east of Dallas. All right, that's Sirius. So that can represent food, how we feel comforted. We can think of warm, nurturing energy. All right, but Sirius, like grain and Demeter, right? Goddess Demeter of goddess of food, right? And of wheat, right? And grains. So Sirius runs right through there. And then over here we've got a couple of fixed stars. These two that are rolling together look like the railroad tracks riding together, right? Those are a couple of fixed stars we've got there. Oh, the first one is Atlas. Interesting. So this first one is Atlas, which is all about duty and responsibilities. And, it's Atlas. Got the weight of the world on their back. That's Atlas. Okay. And the one next to it, okay. Main star of the Pleiades cluster. And I believe it's Alcyone, Alcyone. It can bestow, whatever, I can't speak, can bestow loyalty and great success. Take charge of your own fate and show commitment. High level of sensitivity. Advocate for the suffering. Manage strong emotions. So it has the ability to have strong emotions, and the recommendation, manage strong emotions. And it's conjunct. It's right next to Atlas. Wow. To me, Atlas can be very serious energy. It feels like it's duty bound, almost like a chain. It's duty bound. And sometimes that duty bound energy can be like a marriage in a sense. It can be a professional relationship that we feel, or however, ambition, goal, and duty bound. So that runs right through. Those two lines are together. You see them? The dotted lines, the black dotted lines running together on the west side of San Antonio. Now, what's the solid line? All right, this solid line is Estrella. This is Estrella. This is feminine energy running through here. Feminine energy. And Estrella, I have read multiple different explanations and meanings for Estrella. Some are very different. So I have likened this Estrella energy, though, as to sometimes feeling as though I will many times just say, just think of her as like a pit bull. And I don't mean to say it in like a mean way, but normally the pit bull energy can latch onto something. And when it does, it may not have the ability to know when enough is enough and to let go, to just be like, okay, this is done, this is over. And that is the connection with the Estrella energy. So here it says asteroid Estrella represents the inability to let go, pointing to a blockage that stops us seeing when something is over or finished, and that we're ready for something new to begin. Therefore, on this line, there may be a tendency to stay in a profession long after it has ceased to satisfy, or even in a position, possibly even in a relationship. It's wondering why you have been missed during each round of promotions or acknowledgments and recognition. So, in other words, you may have difficulty taking risks in your chosen profession or letting go of the old to make way for the new. All right. There's no Uranus running through there. There's no shocking, surprising, insane energy running through there. But there is an eclipse, right? Yeah, there is this strong eclipse energy. Now, when Uvalde had that horrible shit happen, uh, each state, each city, whenever they were like incorporated or whatever, they were made into a city, a zone, whatever, they will all have their own birth dates. So I don't know what Uvalde's birth date was. I've never seen its chart, but that also would be another level of information to look at and to see, oh my God, how could something so tragic happen there? Possibly they had an eclipse there for sure. And maybe in their chart, if they were to look at the astro-cartography on their chart, maybe they have like Mars near here. But see, there's no Mars here. There's no Uranus. Normally, when Mars and Uranus get together, it's super volatile energy. It's really dangerous energy because Uranus can be sudden and sporadic, but so can Mars. Uranus can be, it's just like it wants to surprise, it wants to shock, it can do something you didn't expect. Well, if it's combined with Mars energy, it can be violent as all hell. We don't have this here. I'm not seeing this on these lines. Like there's no astrology here that supports anything like that. Not from where I'm looking. Okay. Now, with that said, let me back up on this a little bit. The Uranus line, remember the purple Uranus line, goes through here up this way. It's that purple line right next to that black line. That's that Uranus line. Now, is there a Mars line anywhere close by? See this red line over here? This is the Mars line in the United States chart. That's their Mars line. It's in the water, literally, which is so wild. Could you imagine? Thank God. Could you imagine if we had Mars like paired up with Uranus or a cross section with Uranus somewhere in the birth chart? Oh, Lord. Holy shit, it would not be good. Oh, this is a new well, it's not a new asteroid, but it's a new one that I've been charting or just started charting. Gong. Gonggong. Gagong. That's on the United States descendant. Okay, so let's just put it like this. Now remember, this is astrology. I don't want people taking things and then running a mile with it and stretching it to turn into something it's not. But here's what it says. A destructive Chinese water god with a human head and the body of a serpent, usually blamed for cosmic catastrophes. Okay. Facing how one's selfishness is impacting others. All right. Learning to focus on the needs of another or of a group. Getting involved with the issues of another, tuning into the soul of a group, such as the soul of humanity, and what needs healing on a soul level. Since it's next to Uranus, remember, Uranus can be technology. okay, other than just the shocks and surprises, the inventions and technology, right? So these 2 do run together. You see where yeah, geography, I'm horrible, but yeah, we see Florida, we see hold on, I got crap in mind. We see Georgia, South Carolina, and this is like, yeah, these 2 purple ones, right? So it's the west, northwest, the Carolinas, I said, Georgia, Florida. What did I miss? Is this West? Yeah, so this is West Virginia, this is North Carolina, this is South Carolina. Okay. And then we have Pennsylvania, and then we have New York and Tennessee. The Ohio River is currently flooding. Tornadoes went through here. That's what I thought. That's what I thought I heard. I was like, I remember telling my housemate, one of my housemates, I remember saying, I think I just heard that a tornado went through West Virginia. Yeah. A microburst. Yeah, sometimes those microbursts, I know we get those here in Illinois. All the lines on the map, and yeah, going through Pittsburgh there, we've got Uranus and Gogong, Gongggong, right? They're together. So in the United States birth chart, let's look at that real quick. Let me see if it'll help me do this. I don't know. Can you guys see that? Oh, we don't want that one. You probably can't see it. Okay, let me look. So I know where this is. This is in the United States 6th house. Their 6th house. Uranus is at 8:55 and the Gogong is at 9:27. They're in Gemini. They're together in Gemini in their 6th house. Wow. Yeah. So that line, of course, not just Pittsburgh, right? Running all the way to the north, going into Canada, runs through New York, runs through the little one, West Virginia, the eastern side of West Virginia, right? Runs through Virginia on the west and the west of the Carolinas, and then smack dab through the center of Georgia, and then together here, right here for Florida. Yeah. All right, so let's go back to that other chart real quick. Okay, so this is the USA's chart. So the United States having their Chiron return, independence and freedom. Independence and freedom. Let freedom ring. When we have our Chiron return, especially Chiron return in Aries, the identity and the appearance. So will the United States change? Will it ever change? Will it always need to have all the weapons to feel safe and secure? But I don't think that's all it's about. The 4th house is women. It's mother energy. It's nurturing. Yeah. Yeah. Parts of Cancer energy has a whole lot to do with making babies. Some say the moon itself kind of provides that point of the soul entering into the physical body type of thing to take the physical form, to take on the physical form eventually, right? So, yeah, this is a hot button item in the States. Abortion. And for all the people that scream either for or against, well, as my mom, who has Alzheimer's and who's 85, she said to me last week, don't they know that is between a woman and her doctor? Now, this is a woman who had at least 14 pregnancies. Do you know what I'm saying? She had at least 14 pregnancies. And she was really pissed off. Because every now and then when I catch her in where I can tell her mind's tracking and she can, we can have literally like a conversation about current events because she was always really big on current events, especially politics and foreign affairs and stuff. And when she heard about what's going on, holy shit, she was pissed. Her Aries energy came out. Woo! She was pissed. It's none of their damn business. I said, I agree, Mom. Each person that's their life. They got to figure it out for themselves. I mean, we can have an opinion about it, but our opinion shouldn't affect the right. There's a couple of videos up on the channel. Have another perspective of the eclipse that we hadn't talked about yet. But let's look at another chart for the United States. I have yet another chart. And the next chart for them is literally a chart showing, I think it's just an asteroid chart. So here's their asteroid chart. And again, how would we find it? We're looking for the 19 degrees of Aries. So you do the same thing. You find Aries energy. So we go to find the Aries energy on the chart. Yep, we know where it is. It's right there. Found their Aries energy, and then we got to look for 19 degrees. So we go up in numbers, and we see they have some objects here that we didn't see before. We saw that they have their Chiron at 20, right? They also have something at 23. They have something at 25. We saw that one. And then something at 28, right? So there's additional objects that are here in the fourth house that add to the fight energy and the willingness to, remember, Aries energy is the pioneer, folks. Think about that. The pioneer. I'm the first one to go over there. Like, that's Aries energy. And we think about immigration. We think about people who come to this country. We think about your ancestors. I don't think I could be wrong. There might be somebody here in the chat where your ancestors, for hundreds and hundreds of years originated in this country. Is there anybody here? I know I'm not, right? I'm third generation in this country. That's it. And I think everybody else is probably going to be similar along those lines. So we think of pioneers and making this their home. Yeah. And we look at the ascendant of the United States chart. This is the sign of the foreigner, Sagittarius. My appearance, right? The salad bowl, the melting pot, whatever you want to call it. Sagittarius, people who speak different languages, people who've traveled. Sagittarius on the ascendant of the United States. Makes sense, doesn't it? Now, we were looking at the opposite energy of Aries, because the opposite of an eclipse, you got to pay attention to both the point of the eclipse and the opposite. So that's Libra. And look, they got something at freaking 18. At 18, which we didn't see in the other chart. This is why I think the relationship, when I saw this, I mean, I kind of already felt this way. And then when things started heating up with Israel and the United States, I was like, oh, this shit's ending. And I'm not saying, oh, this shit's, I'm talking about the relationship is going through a definite change. That's what I'm talking about. Like, there could be other things that are happening, but I think this is pronounced Shiva or Shiva. I believe this is an Indian god. It's basically like Pluto energy, though. So a change and a transformation. Yeah. See, it's got the one hand down, the one hand up, the head. Let me read it from the software. Hindu god, my bad, Hindu. Hindu god known as the Destroyer ruled the end of all cycles, part of a trinity with Brahma. Brahma is considered creator, and Vishnu, the preserver. It is destruction in order to make way for a new creation, the inner divine masculine, experiencing major loss and emerging to create oneself anew, a deep awareness that all things must end and how you prepare for that ending and what comes after. It's in Libra, so it's relationships, it's negotiations, it's professional partnerships. And because this is where the South Node is at, the South Node is sitting here like at 15 degrees, right? Because we're having a North Node eclipse. So that means the North Node is down here at 15 degrees. Yeah. North Node is about the future, a new beginning. It's about where we're headed. Okay. Aries energy. We think identity and my ability to fight and weapons and freedom and liberties, like independent action, autonomy. Like, we think Aries energy. Home and family, nurturing, and of course, weapons giving us emotional security, feeling emotionally stable. And look, South Node here. South Node is the past. It's what we were really good at, right? I've even spoken of the South Node like it's a superpower, even. South Node sitting here at 15. United States has that SIVA. For some reason, I want to say it's Shiva. I could be wrong though, but I'm saying SIV. It's written as SIVA. Definitely the deterioration of something and seeing that it's deteriorating, seeing that that relationship is ending. And so that everybody's clear, I'm not like great as far as following foreign affairs, okay? And maybe that bores the shit out of you guys, but if I'm looking at the United States chart, foreign affairs is a huge event and it has to be considered. I've mentioned Bo of the Fifth Column like in a lot of videos because he knows way more than I do. And he's very grounded. He's a journalist. All the information that and I believe he was in the military. He doesn't say that, but boy, he knows a shitload about weapons. He knows a shitload about war. He knows a shitload about, oh my God, like all that shit. And so anyway, he's very down to earth. He speaks in a way where you can easily understand. Anyhow, he's really freaking good with foreign affairs. I mean, like phenomenal, top notch. And it's not anything that's blown out of proportion. He was explaining how complicated it is to walk away, to say, okay, we're going to withhold weapons. We're going to, or, you better do this, or, we're going to have to break up this relationship. But there's repercussions, and it's not so much of fearing a repercussion necessarily from Israel, but it's, if they don't get weapons from the US, like it changes the setup, it changes the relationships, things get moved around, it changes the players on the board, and it's stuff that I don't ever think twice about, let alone once. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I never thought of that. So there's just these other things involved. And anyway, when I saw this, I was like, oh, shit's definitely changing. South Node is here. South Node, it's the past, and the South Node represents a release. And they've got something, 1839. Remember the other chart that was mostly just the regular planets that we look at.